So, Patriots, the new president of Botswana, Duma Boko, has told the BBC podcast that he will give Zimbabweans work permits. He says these Zimbabweans are deported daily and they come back committing crimes in Botswana because they live there illegally. And he says these Zimbabweans have rare skills that Botswana is lacking. Now, Patriots, I want you to understand this nonsense. Don't let this idiotic claim slide by. The truth is, this guy doesn't care about fixing his own country's problems. He's making excuses to justify his stupidity. And I need you to see through this populist rhetoric for what it is. Now, Patriots, I want you to understand how the populists think. They don't bother doing the real work of investigating, analyzing, or thinking through issues. No, they just make statements that sound good on the surface. You and I, Patriots, we actually look at facts, data, and trends. But populists? They don't give a damn about any of that. They just want to pander to the crowd with empty promises without a shred of real evidence to back up their claims. That's exactly what this president is doing. So this president says that Botswana people wouldn't do these low-paying jobs that are done by Zimbabweans. And in the same podcast, he has the nerve to say that Botswana people don't have the skills that Zimbabweans have. Now, Patriots, pay attention because we're hearing two different statements. First, he tells the people who voted for him that they're too good for these jobs. And then he says that Zimbabweans are highly skilled and will be the ones to teach these skills to the people of Botswana. Are you kidding me? He's talking about construction work, gardening, domestic work, low-wage jobs. So let me get this straight. The people who voted for him are too lazy or unskilled for this work. But these Zimbabweans are somehow the answer? This is classic populist double talk. This guy is a walking contradiction, and he's pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. He's making these promises that sound like they'll help Botswana, but the reality is far more twisted. He says he's doing this to grow the economy of Botswana. But what does he actually mean by that? I don't know about you, Patriots, but to me, this sounds exactly like Kamala Harris in America, spouting nonsense, losing elections, and going nowhere fast. In Botswana, unemployment is a ticking time bomb, close to 25%. Their GDP is a pathetic $19 billion. So why is this president fixated on giving Zimbabweans work permits to come and do menial jobs like gardening while his own citizens are starving? This is not leadership, it's betrayal. Botswana people thought they were voting for change. They thought they were getting away from bad leadership, but look at where they are now. This guy is even worse than the evil they were supposedly escaping. Now he's turning around and selling out his own people to foreigners. How does that make sense, Patriots? You can't just let foreigners come in and take jobs when your own people are hungry and jobless. But that's exactly what this president is doing. His so-called solution is a joke. His voters gave him a job, and now he's going to throw them under the bus? It's disgusting. Patriots, no matter how much you try to convince me I'm wrong, the facts speak for themselves. He was voted in by unemployed people, and instead of working to fix that problem, he's keeping his people unemployed. Being a president isn't about just keeping your position, it's about improving the lives of your citizens. He was given a job by the people, and instead of paying them back by creating jobs for them, he's handing them over to Zimbabweans. This is a slap in the face to every citizen who supported him. Of course, the liberals won't care. They're too busy trying to play the popularity game. They'll say he's doing the right thing by giving Zimbabweans work permits, but they won't talk about how it's going to hurt the very people who voted for him. It's a politically motivated decision, not a legal one. And let's be real, he doesn't care about the long-term welfare of Botswana's people. He just wants to look good in front of the international community. Giving Zimbabweans work permits is about his own agenda, not what's actually good for Botswana. And while all of this is happening, the Chinese are running riot in Zimbabwe. They're taking jobs, land, and resources, and nobody seems to give a damn. Zimbabweans may get work permits in Botswana, but what about the Chinese taking over everything in Zimbabwe? This is what's really going on behind the scenes. No one's talking about that, but it's happening. It's time to wake up, Patriots. This isn't just about Zimbabweans getting jobs. It's about a bigger picture. And people like this president are too busy chasing popularity to even notice. In Botswana, 98% of known migrants are Zimbabweans. I don't understand why Zimbabweans are comfortable traveling without documents. Here in South Africa, the Office of the Zimbabwean Ambassador can issue Zimbabwean passports, yet these people choose to live in South Africa illegally. It's ridiculous. Botswana will regret this decision because when unemployment hits hard, the Botswana people will turn on the Zimbabweans. And guess what? The Zimbabweans won't leave. When you give them work permits, they'll have kids, buy assets, and when those permits expire, they'll run to court demanding that Botswana renew them. It'll end up in an international court, and then Zimbabweans will claim that they're used to the standard of living in Botswana. Zimbabwe will feel like a foreign country to them, and they won't even think of going back because they've built lives there. This liberal mindset is completely mind-boggling. A few months ago, Botswana banned South African exports of fruits and vegetables, and the reasoning was totally fair. They said the ban was temporary. They just wanted Botswana to get used to their own local production and boost emerging small businesses. And that's fair. You prioritize locals, especially when it's about small businesses. South Africa could do the same when it comes to Chinese clothes. To revive the textile industry, you'd have to ban Chinese imports and make local products available. But no, liberals don't think like that. They only care about pleasing the masses with their feel-good statements. Citizens should always come first, no matter what. And yet, here we are with liberals talking nonsense about Zimbabweans being the saviors of Botswana's economy. Now we're hearing all these liberals saying Zimbabweans are the most educated people. Well, patriots, that is not a fact. It's a populist statement. It's the same type of ridiculous claim liberals make when they say if Bangladeshi spaza shops are closed, South Africans will die of poverty. I saw Thuli Madonsela making a similar statement, and it's utter nonsense. These aren't facts, patriots. People who make these kinds of statements are often highly educated by today's standards, but they are completely out of touch with reality. The truth is, populist ideas can't be the basis for shaping a country's policies. Life shouldn't depend on some emotional idea, but on real, tangible facts. Botswana banned produce from South Africa because they want to grow their small businesses, which is absolutely fair. But South Africa cannot do the same when it comes to spaza shops run by illegal immigrants. They can't prioritize their own local spaza shops over the illegal ones flooding the market. But that's the typical liberal mindset, isn't it? Liberals will tell you that allowing more illegal immigrants into the country is creating jobs. But if you suggest erasing immigration laws and banning IDs and passports to make things even, suddenly they're not interested. They can't have it both ways, yet they push for illegal migration as if it's the solution to every problem. Hypocrisy, plain and simple. We live in times where people are confused, and those in higher positions are confusing even more people. Just look at the president of Botswana. He's a lawyer, for crying out loud. He should know the consequences of making these kinds of political decisions outside the law. When Botswana eventually terminates these work permits, their courts will be forced to make political decisions instead of following the law. That's the problem with political decisions. They make judges corrupt. They make them lie to please the media and foreign NGOs. When the work permits are canceled, the media will turn the narrative and label Botswana as xenophobic. But no one will bother asking why this mess is happening in the first place. This whole situation is a disaster waiting to happen. It's not just about work permits. It's about making political decisions without thinking through the long-term consequences. Just think about it. Patriots, the media will spin the story, and before you know it, Botswana will be painted as a villain, while Zimbabweans get to stay and exploit the situation even further. And don't even get me started on how this will harm Botswana's economy. The more countries like Botswana and South Africa keep letting Zimbabweans stay, the worse it gets for Zimbabwe. Instead of dealing with their own problems, they're allowing Zimbabweans to flood their job markets and create a mess for their own citizens. These countries that believe Zimbabweans are the most skilled people on the planet are digging their own graves. They think they're doing Zimbabweans a favor by offering work permits, but they're just contributing to the slow destruction of Zimbabwe. When you keep telling Zimbabweans that they're the most skilled people out there, you're basically taking away the responsibility from Zimbabwe's own government to fix things. All these generous work permits are just a band-aid for a much bigger issue. Instead of fixing their own countries, they're pushing the blame on others. They're coddling Zimbabweans and, in the process, making their own nations worse.